This podcast does not provide medical advice. Please listen to the complete disclosure at the end of the recording.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Everyone Dies. Hello, darling. I'm Marianne Matzo.
I'm Charlie Navarrete.
God, and Charlie just had a birthday.
Really? Me too.
He's 65 years old.
How about that? Yes. I was going to say I have sweaters older than that, but no, actually I don't.
That T-shirt you're wearing is older than that.
It certainly looks that way. Yes.
And you were like, what, 20, 21 when I met you?
Yes, because it was just out of college. So
yeah,
20, maybe 22. It was either 21 or 22. Yeah.
You were a mere baby.
Yeah. Baby, look at me now. So, yeah.
I'm trying not to. I do crank myself up, Charles.
Yes, I know.
I really don't need anyone else around. So please relax. Get yourself something scary and naughty to eat and drink. It's almost Halloween, which is a high holy day for some, which I'm one of them. So let's be happy. And thank you for spending the next hour with Charlie and me. In the first half, we have our recipe of the week, Halloweeno jalapeno poppers.
Oh, it's easy for you to say.
No, it's not. And bad jokes from Charlie. In the second half, I'm going to be talking about multi-system organ failure at the end of life.
Wait. I'm sorry, multi-orgasm what?
Yes. Multi-system. That means lots of stuff. Organ, the organs in your body.
I must have
failure,
misunderstood.
Meaning they don't work before you die.
Right.
They don't work after you die either.
Well, yeah, good point. Yes.
Yeah. In our third half, we have a poem from our poet laureate, Sam Magill. So, Charlie, here I am sitting here drinking a vampire martini in your honor of your birthday and of Halloween. And by the way, I did include the recipe for the vampire martini. So what do you have for our first half this week?
A Bloody Mary.
A Bloody Marianne.
Yes, indeed. Well, today we are serving Halloweeny jalapeno poppers, which are different than any other popper you have had, before today. These are little mummies.
Have you done poppers?
I
wish you guys could see his face.
Yeah, I have to take the fifth on that. I don't want to be incriminating myself, so I'll take the fifth.
Oh, that was funny.
So these mummy poppers are made from crescent rolls, jalapenos, and cream cheese. These poppers will add a certain additional spice to your Halloween celebrations because, they're jalapenos and that's their job, to be eaten by you. And because, it's hard to be serious while celebrating Halloween, unless, of course,
it's hard to be serious most of the time, but okay.
But but at Halloween, unless of course, the doorbell rings, you open it, expecting a little trick or treater, but it's the Grim Reaper, and he scares you to death. Now that's as serious as a heart attack. So unless that happens, let's end our first half with jokes. So, a woman was out golfing one day when she hit the ball into the woods. She went to look for it and found a frog in a trap. The frog said, if you release me from this trap, I will grant you 3 wishes. So the woman freed the frog, and the frog said, did I mention there was a condition to your wishes? Whatever you wish for, your husband will get 10 times more or better. And please don't ask me how the frog knew she was married. So the woman said...
That big old diamond on her finger.
Maybe that's what it was. But, swinging that golf club, you think she'd be afraid that it would fly off. And she would lose it. So that's, But, maybe that was her intention. It would fly off and she would lose it. And who knows? I'm not trying to get into the psychology of this woman. Where was I? Oh, yeah. So she said, you know what? That would be okay. So so she freed the frog, and she said, that'll be okay. And I get it. 10 times more than I receive, whatever. That's fine. That'll be fine. So for her first wish, she wanted to be the most beautiful woman in the world. And the frog warned her, listen, you realize that this wish will also make your husband the most handsome man in the world. An Adonis. I mean, women will, I can't say the other F word, but flock to him. There we are. Will flock to him. And the woman...
He will look just like Charles Neverett.
Oh. So,
it's your birthday. I'm being nice to you.
They said, and then she said, well, but that's okay, because I will be the most beautiful woman in the world, and he will only have eyes for me. So, kazam, she's the most beautiful woman in the world. Now, for her second wish, she wanted to be the richest woman in the world. And the frog said, okay, that will make your husband the richest man in the world, 10 times richer than you. Woman said, that's okay, because what is mine is his, and what is his is mine. So, alakazam, shimmy-kaboom, supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, bang. She's the richest woman in the world. The frog said, okay. And your third wish? She said, I'd like to have a mild heart attack.
She's a thinker, this woman.
Yes, she is. Next. So, 3 nuns are in a bus, traveling, they're going along, singing nun songs, and it crashes. And all of them die instantly. And find themselves standing in front of the pearly gates, where St. Peter is waiting for them. He said to the nun, listen, before I can let you into heaven, you each have to answer a question. So Peter asks the first nun, where did Adam meet the first woman? The nun said, well, in the Garden of Eden. Suddenly, cymbals crash, there's a timpani roll, the sun shines, the pearly gates open, and the nun saunters in. There we are. Saunters in, the gates close behind her. St. Peter, well, Peter to his friends, asked the second nun, what was the name of the first woman in the Garden of Eden? The second nun says, well, her name was Eve. And the cymbals crash, there's a timpani roll, the sun shines, the gates open, the nun boogies in, gates close. Third nun thinks to herself, cake. So Peter asks her, what did Eve say the first time she saw Adam in the Garden of Eden? The nun looked at him and said, man, that's a hard one. And there is a timpani roll and cymbals crash, the gates open. And, I like that one.
Do you know what Adam said to Eve the first time he had an erection?
No, what?
He said, stand back, Eve. I don't know how big this thing gets.
That's cute. Now, because we are equal opportunity gender people, whatever, this time 3 men die and go to heaven. At the pearly gates, they're greeted by St. Peter. St. Peter says to them, I'll let you into heaven if you could show me a spirit of Christmas. The first man pulls out a leaf from his pocket and says, this represents the Christmas tree. He's allowed in. The second man pulls out his keys and jingles them. These represent bells. He's allowed in. The third man pulls out a pair of women's underwear and shows them to St. Peter. Peter's like, what the hell? I mean, what do those represent? And the third man said, oh, these are carols. I wish I had written that one.
that is so bad.
Maybe it's all in the delivery.
It really is. Yeah. It really is. No one does it like you, Charles.
Oh, okay. So, a woman's husband had been slipping in and out of a coma, but she was there every day by his bedside. One day, he motioned for her to come closer. His eyes were full of tears. You know, you've been with me through all the bad times. When I got fired, you were there to support me. When I started the business and it failed, you were there. When I got shot, you were by my side. When my health started failing, you have been at my side. You know what? I think you're bad luck. A wealthy man died and went to heaven. He was met at the pearly gates by St. Peter, who welcomed him warmly and told him he will be taken to his forever heavenly dwelling. He then led him down the streets of gold. They passed castle after castle, then huge mansions and beautiful cottages, until they came to the very end of the street, and St. Peter stopped the rich man in front of a little wooden shack that looked like it was ready to fall down. And Peter says, "Well, welcome home." And the guy says, "Why do I get this ugly thing when there are so many mansions I could live in?" And Peter said, "Well, we did the best we could with the money you sent us." So remember to tip not only your waiters generously, but also the people who walk around with baskets at your favorite church. So not all these jokes, but as Marianne mentioned about the recipe, please go to our webpage, not only for a link to the recipe, but also additional resources for this program. We hope you will follow us on Facebook and Instagram, and remember to rate and review this podcast. As a nonprofit organization, we are dependent on the kindness of strangers and always appreciate your donations. Please go to our webpage to donate in support of our work, www.everyonedies.org. That's dies.org. Marianne?
Thank you, Charles. So today we have the 5th installment of our How We Die series to let our listeners know what the process is and what are some of the issues, that kind of thing. So today what I want to talk about is what's called multi-system failure. So in our bodies, like in a car or anything else, there's different systems. There's a cardiac or the heart system. There's the liver system. There's the kidney system. There's all kinds of systems that hopefully work really well for us. But like any kind of moving part over time, or because of our diet or because of a lot of things, can stop working. And so you can be in, let's say, kidney failure without being in multi-system failure. Like your kidneys can be doing or not doing what they're supposed to be doing. And, it might be at some point that you are in need of dialysis or something like that. But that's one system. But at the end of life, the body, if you think about it, is going to shut itself down. And each of the systems are going to shut down. And that's what's called multi-system organ failure. So at the end of life, when the body is shutting down, there's less blood moving through the blood vessels in an organ or in tissue. And the resulting shutdown in those organs, like the liver, the kidneys, are part of that system failure. Decreased cardiac output, meaning that the heart is not pumping with the force that it needs to get the blood throughout the whole system. And the volume of the blood in the person's circulatory system, the amount of blood that's moving or that's in the vein, results in the heart saying, "Oh my God, I need to work faster in order to get this blood moving." So you'll see sort of a rapid pulse rate, because the heart is trying to get that stuff moving and is doing its best job that it can with what it's got. But what happens is that as that heart's beating really, really fast, it's not beating efficiently. It's because the ventricles, those chambers inside the heart, have to fill up all the way in order for, with each time the heart contracts, to push a full volume out, right?
Right.
So if it's beating really fast, it doesn't have time to fill up the way it should. So it's not putting out, I mean, it's trying, but it's not an efficient way to get the blood moving. And so that can cause what's called tachycardia, which is that rapid heart rate, and hypotension, which is a low blood pressure. Additionally, the body is going to try to conserve the blood volume for vital organs. And we've talked about this previously, but the body is saying, I have to have blood going through to my lungs. I have to have blood to my brain. I don't have to have blood going to my stomach to digest food. I can deal without that. And so what it's doing is it's conserving the blood volume for the vital organs, which does not include the arms and legs. And so that results in the cooling of the arms and legs, because the body is going to conserve heat to the core, to the middle part of the body. And those arms and legs are not vital for survival. And so what you'll find is that arms and legs start to get really, really cool. And the lack of oxygen going to them causes the skin to have this bluish color. So the skin also, what it does is it becomes mottled and discolored. And this is normal before death. And it's a sign that death is coming pretty soon. And modeling is a little bit hard to describe. I always think of it as like marbling, like what marble looks like. But what I did in your resources is I attached a picture of what modeling looks like. So you can look at it and you can say, oh, that's what she's talking about. Modeling is typically seen on the earlobes and the soles of the feet before you'll see it in other areas. Those are areas that have not so much blood in them in the first place. And modeling in Latin is called levido reticularis. Levido reticularis, which can be translated that the skin is patchy and has irregular colors. The skin may have red or purple marks, streaks or spots on it. It can have that marbled appearance with different colors. So take a look at that picture and you can get a sense of what that looks like. But that is a sign that it's not too much longer before the body is not going to be able to work at all anymore and will die. Now, another way to take a look at the end of life is to look at urine output. And patients or family members will often say to me, well, how much longer do they have left? And it's like, well, let's take a look. And so I'll say, we'll look at the skin. Are we seeing modeling? Yes or no. I always look at urine output. A normal kidney will produce about 30 cc's, which is really not very much. It's like less than a tablespoon of urine every single hour. That's just kind of like the rule of thumb. When somebody's at the end of life and has multi-system failure, the kidneys say to themselves, you know what, I've done enough. I really don't need to be doing this anymore because, again, we're conserving energy to the core. So the urine output is greatly diminished, and there can be also a loss of ability to control the urine, resulting in urinary incontinence, meaning people will just wet the bed because they don't have the control yet or any longer, or stool incontinence. And that can be a very difficult situation if the person's at home with hospice support, in that the family has to clean the person, and it's difficult to do. They're not rolling over. They're not helping you typically. And so that situation is very stressful for the family member. So what we typically will do in hospice care is that we'll put a catheter in. It's not that so that there's, that we can measure it, which is a reason when we're in a curative mode, but it's more so that somebody's not incontinent, somebody doesn't wet the bed and make it that much more level of distress for the family member. It doesn't hurt at all to have the catheter in. It gets rid of the need for frequent bedding changes. It prevents skin breakdown because, we talked a couple shows ago about skin, and you don't want somebody laying in urine because that's going to cause skin breakdown if you're healthy or if you're not. But you don't want to have an extra problem there.
Yeah.
The catheter is also going to help the person who is still able to control their urine to conserve energy by removing the need to use a bedpan or urinal. So even, Charlie, if you can control your urine, you say, I got to pee, I got to go. Well, you're using your precious energy to, negotiate that urinal or get up on a bedpan when you could be using that energy to hug and hold somebody or, whatever. So it's a matter of, again, we always talk about how are you going to use your energy. That catheter can really make things a lot easier. Now, neurological dysfunction, people being able to talk and move with intention is a result of multiple concurrent and non-reversible organ failure. So that patient may experience reduced blood circulation to the brain. So, the way that we keep ourselves conscious, one way, is to have enough blood, enough oxygen getting to the brain. If there's not enough, we'll get really, really tired. We can get confused. So there can be there can be problems in terms of being able to communicate with that loss of oxygen to the brain. Not having things moving the way that they should can cause metabolic imbalances. Toxins can accumulate because the kidneys and the liver are not removing things the way they're supposed to. And so all of the metabolites that the kidneys and liver usually clear out are not getting cleared out. They might become septic, meaning just sort of a widespread infection throughout their body. And these changes, all of these changes, really decreases the level of consciousness and can result in terminal delirium, terminal agitation, that kind of thing. So next week, put it on your calendars, we're going to talk about terminal delirium and terminal agitation. But I wanted to set that stage for you as to why that happens, and it's because of this multi-system failure. Do you have any questions about that, Charles?
No, I'm just trying to soak that all in. But yeah, it's what you had said before about things being interconnected. I mean, just, in everyday life. But yeah, of course, with your body as well. One thing, triggers something else. So we either get stronger or weaker.
Right.
And even what you said, like with about the bedpan. There comes a point where that, where are you going to use that energy to,
right?
The bedpan or to, have the strength in your hand to hold someone's hand or to respond to someone's, touch or presence. Yeah.
So it's like I typically will use like a car as the analogy of the body. I know the body's not a car, but it's like you get to a point with any car where you say, well, I could fix this, but that's going to cost $800. And how do I know when the brakes are going to go, or when this is going to go, or when that's going to go? And that's, as the body is shutting down, it's sort of the same kind of thing. It gets to the point where you just can't fix everything or anything. And there's not all the money in the world.
Right.
Can't change that.
Right. Yeah.
Because we're built to wear out and die. I mean, that's how we're built, and there's just really no getting around that. At least so far, there's no getting around that.
So far, yeah.
So far. Well, I'm the eternal optimist. Who knows what somebody's going to come up with? But then again, you're left with the thing is, just because they come up with it, does that mean that you're going to want it?
That's true.
Sometimes sometimes it's better to just follow the plan.
Yeah.
And not interfere.
Yep. In our third half, we have a poem from our own poet laureate at Everyone Dies. Sam Magill is supportive of our work and has sent us some of his poetry to share with our listeners. Sam has published a collection of verse titled Fully Human. Today's poem was written in 2007. Come, friend death. Come, friend death, whom I have avoided all these years, though I have seen your face 1,000 times. Up to now I have said yes to life 1,001 times, rising with the dawn to live each day more fully midst all the gift bestowed on me by a loving God. Each night I have rested in the sweet smell of repose of sleep, but now my life of affirmations is out of balance with much need for rest. Come to me, friend death, and carry me away to that place where I will be whole again, where there is no fatigue or illness, where I may see the face of God. But tarry not too long, or glance toward those I love, for they are rising daily, saying yes to life now and for many days to come. That's nice. Yeah. And for all of you listening, thank you very much for listening and visiting with Everyone Dies. And thank you for being together with us. So this is Charlie Navarrete reminding you to eat, drink, and be merry, for tomorrow we die. And
I'm Marianne Matzo, and we will see you next week. Remember, every day is a gift.
This podcast does not provide medical advice. All discussion on this podcast, such as treatments, dosages, outcomes, charts, patient profiles, advice, messages, and any other discussion are for informational purposes only and are not a substitute for professional medical advice or treatment. Always seek the advice of your primary care practitioner or other qualified health providers with any questions that you may have regarding your health. Never disregard professional medical advice or delay in seeking it because of something you have heard from this podcast. If you think you may have a medical emergency, call your doctor or 911 immediately. Everyone Dies does not recommend or endorse any specific tests, practitioners, products, procedures, opinions, or other information that may be mentioned in this podcast. Reliance on any information provided in this podcast by persons appearing on this podcast at the invitation of Everyone Dies or by other members is solely at your own risk.